thing. We have access. Everybody say access. But we do have to keep progressing through levels of faith until we're in the position that the Lord has given us. Look at somebody next to you and say, you have a position that He's created. Remember what Jesus said to us. He said, I go to prepare a place for you. A lot of people think that's just heaven. That's where He sits. And we sit next to it. Now, we're living in this era of war, and there's one thing we have to remember. We have access to Father's throne room in the middle of the conflicts we walk through. Don't ever forget that. And with that, it is so key for us to see. I've been studying what the year, Linda always goes through the Word of God and prints out every word linked with 5, and the Hebrew linked with 5. And see, prophetic revelation becomes so important to us. Where there's no prophetic utterance from redemptive revelation or vision, we perish. That means we go backwards. That means you go back down. And you walk in the condition of the prince of the power of the air, the God of this world. We decree that prophetic revelation will keep us buoyant in days ahead. Will create our boundaries in days ahead. Will keep us walking, because how you speak, what you see, where you walk, become the keys to your life ahead. Look at somebody and say, stay up. And I asked the Lord, I've already started asking about our transition from gaining access into the year ahead. And this is really what the war ahead. See, we're in this whole era of war. So you have to know what your assignment is every year. Next year, as we approach in September, October, because it's late this year, our celebration, the real war is the battle for the high places. We will each be battling for the high place of worship that God has given us and toppling what the enemy is trying to rule. Now, that's what the whole year ahead is about. And 5 is linked with grace, so there's supernatural grace for you to fight. Turn to somebody and say, you're going to win your war. See, the battle for the high places. And really, that's what the wineskin for the future this year is going to start reflecting, because in the 5th year of a new era, a new decade, the personality of the wineskin begins to mature. The fruit of it begins to mature. And this will be the wineskin for the new era ahead. Worshipers that take the high places. Now, remember last week when I talked about the 12 leaders? See, spies isn't really a good word. They were the leaders of every tribe. They were the best of the best, the ones with the most wisdom, most authority. They were sent in to see what God had promised Abraham, what he had brought them up out of. And they came back and they said, we can't go up. We can't go up against. Stayed in the promise for 40 days and came back and rejected it. I want you to think about that. When you speak against what God is trying to do in your life, you're rejecting the best he has. It's a danger. It's probably one of the greatest dangers that we face. And Caleb stood up and said, everybody, it was catching like wildfire through the camp. Every tribe was echoing what they were hearing. Every tribe. And Caleb quieted the people and said, let us go up. Look at somebody and say, we got to go up. We got to take possession. And if we'll go up, we'll conquer. Say that out loud. If we go up, we'll conquer. Because Caleb was saying, we have to make a choice. And they were saying, we can't ascend. Go ahead, Brian. And Caleb was saying, are you wanting to go back to slavery? Are you wanting to go live here in this wilderness with no new clothes, no new shoes, eating one meal over and over? Normality? Boredom? Or he has offered us our palace called Canaan. Just because the enemy's been in there for 10 generations. We have to remember the Lord told Abraham he was going to leave them in there for 10 generations, and everything they did for 10 generations would be ours. But you're choosing not to go up. You're making a choice to go back. See, when I say we're at a dividing line, personally, we're at a choice. Territorially, we're at a choice. Generationally, we're at a choice. Corporately, we're at a choice. And really, I see we have one pattern. Jesus said, even though the Spirit led me into the wilderness, and I've been here in the wilderness 40 days. Now, they chose the wilderness for 40 years. Look at somebody and say, I better start choosing right now. I'm going to ascend out of this wilderness. If you're in a wilderness place right now, you need to say, I'm going up. Going up. And Jesus said, I've got to ascend because I've been sent here to lead a people out. Just as Moses was sent to lead a people out. But I'm going to offer it to all mankind. And I'm going to ascend not just out of the wilderness, but out of death and demonstrate it. I'm going to ascend out of hell because Father's going to make me go down there. And I'm going to demonstrate it. And I'm going to ascend out of that grave. And I'm going to demonstrate to this people that they are called to ascend.
Somebody say, go up!
Now there's 3 dimensions that we need to know to understand him. We need to know the power of the crucifixion, the ultimate sacrifice. The priest would ascend into the temple or into the tabernacle, and they would offer the best to the people. The sacrifice of the people. He sacrificed the best. But you know, it's not just the power of the cross that brings us into liberation. That's where the church has gotten confused, because after the cross comes the resurrection. And you have to understand that is the overcoming dimension that he leaves with us. But that's still not the thing. I think the thing that happened in my life when the Lord visited me in the 70s was he said, you can live from where I have positioned you and come up and ascend with me. See, that's what the whole book of Ephesians is about. It's not just the crucifixion, not just the resurrection, but until you embrace the ascension of Christ, because it was in the ascension that he sent the advocate to live in you. And so he said, you're going to have to not just go to the cross, not just face off death, but you're going to have to get so deep in you that you are seated with me in the heavenlies. Therefore, you can abide here and you can rule with